Welcome traders. In this video we're going to go over a new use and an extremely valuable use for the ZoneTraderPro Order Flow indicator. And today is Thursday, June 11th, which is rollover day. And when I woke up this morning, I normally do not trade rollover day or the Thursday or the Friday of that. So I hadn't been expecting to take any trades. So I hadn't turned on any of my other software such as Bookmap, and I was getting ready to make the video when I saw what was being presented to me on the charts. I immediately decided that I needed to enter some trades. Very quickly, over about a 20-minute period, I entered 3 trades. And the first trade I entered, ended up taking it off very quickly because of a little bounce that we got right here. Didn't like the way that, but then I immediately re-entered on weakness and got a full profit. And I had a second trade here and got a full profit. So in a period of about 20 minutes, that was good for about $300. Now, this is the chart that I was relying on to make the trades. And basically, you can see the reason why I wanted to get in this first trade. With the ratio indicator steadily increasing, that was a great indication of the trade to come. However, as you can see on the chart that I was looking at, price traded down. It didn't trade down to where I had my target at down here, but it instead bounced from the area of minor support. And that is not a good thing when that happens. Now, unfortunately, I was only able to enter a few contracts up here. I had 6 contracts from up here. And remember, there's less volume in the June contract because of the rollover. But what I was seeing here is I was seeing a very high number in the ratio. So taking that into account, I went ahead and entered the trade. Now, this is probably going to turn out to be the high of the day because these trades at 31.18. And currently, as I'm making the video, price is trading at around 30.50. So what you're going to see with the order flow is how I basically confirmed each one of these trades and took a $300 profit in just a very short amount of time. Okay, in order to use the order flow chart, what I've done is I've changed it from the range that I would normally look at a 5 range, and I increased the range to a 12 range. Now, this does a lot of things. What it does is it includes a lot more trading going on in a single bar, making these a more important signal when they come up. Now, what we are looking for in this is we're looking for a rising or a falling market. And in this case, we could see that as price came down here at 950, we then had 5 or 6 bars making new highs. The signal that we're mainly looking for is the ZTP order flow signal. And it's extremely common, as what happened here at the high of the day. You see that you have the ZTP order flow signal, and then price trades down and trades higher, and you get a second ZTP order flow signal. And just so you're aware, the red box here, that indicates that there was absorption going on at the high of the bar right there. Price traded, this was my first entry, and then what I didn't like about the entry was the bounce and the ZTP order flow buy that I got right here. Now, as price traded back up to here, that's where I re-entered, and I basically re-entered right about the high. And what I saw is something that is very common in a reversing market, and I can demonstrate this on many occasions, approximately 80%, is that we create an extension zone here one tick from the high, or we create an absorption zone one tick from the high. This was unusual because it occurred at the high, but usually it's one tick from the high and we get that reversal. And you notice right here at this low right here, again the low that scared me out of my trade, we did get the extension zone created right here one tick from the low. And then something also very common happens is when the sell-off begins, we are not going to see the creation of another opposing extension zone until basically we reach the bottom. And now that extension zone right here was created, but it was created 2 ticks from the low instead of the normal 1 tick from the low, but close enough. So what we're looking for is, I'm not looking for just a single bar up and then getting this signal. What I'm looking for is this significant move up, which totaled about 8 or 9 points. And so getting it up here at a high, that was important. And a second signal up here, that was again very important. Now, the only other signal that I am looking for is I am looking for a POC extension or a POC absorption. And let me show you how the indicator is set up. Okay, if you are interested in the audio alerts, which I have and I am using, basically what you want to do is you want to put this bar tick filter to 8. So that means you're not going to hear the audible alerts until there's at least 8 ranges in the bar. So I go ahead and I enable the ZTP order flow, and I enable the POC absorption and the POC early warning absorption, again setting that number to an 8 here for the early warning ticks, and then the POC extension, and again an 8 in the early warning. If you set it for a lower number, you're going to get more audible alerts that are less credible. And especially when you have these POC absorption and extension, by the time price is traded down 2 points, it's highly likely that the bar is going to complete with those signals intact. So the only other settings that I am using here is I am using the ZTP order flow signal, and that is checked. The extension zones are enabled with 399, 0, and 0. The absorption is enabled with 199, 1, and 1. I am looking at the POC, and I have the POC absorption signal enabled and the POC extension signal enabled. And those are basically all of the settings to get that. I've also placed on the chart my delta strength, and the delta strength is not being filtered here. It's encompassing all contracts. So I have not chosen to reconstruct the tape, and I'm putting the filter at 1. And then I have the standard order flow VWAP from NinjaTrader on the chart also. So like I said, the setup is pretty simple. Here we have this 8 or 9 point move. Up at the highs, we start receiving the ZTP order flow signal. And what is also interesting, and another use of the delta strength indicator, just had a question on this from one of the users. Why is this low volume printing out? Well, this low volume is printing out because the volume on this bar was 40% or less of normal volume. And it illustrates perfectly why you want to have this information. First off, we're looking for a signal that's basically going to be calling our top here. Then what happens is price trades down, trades back up, and makes a higher high. Well, it's making a higher high on lower volume. Why is it doing that? Well, on lower volume, the resistance is basically being pulled, so it's not a two-sided fight, buyers and the sellers. And basically what is happening is the sellers are basically pulling the resistance, letting the natural buying come in, and then they're getting better prices up here. Now, the ZTP order flow is a signal that is proprietary to ZoneTrader Pro, and it's basically telling you there are trapped traders on these bars. Now, as price trades lower, we see our first warning sign that a bottom is being put in right here. We then have a POC extension buy, but look at again what we get at our low. At our low, we get our ZTP order flow. So the idea here is that you use the combination of the order flow and the ratio indicator. So the combination of the order flow indicator with the ratio indicator is a very interesting concept for using those together. It didn't bother me at all to reshort up here for a couple of reasons. First, what was happening once we got a new zigzag and a new reading? As price rose, so did the ratio, indicating that there was limit order resistance. That is the number one read that you take away from it. But then we look back to right here, and that 97 that was being put in right here is our main resistance that we're counting on. So then when we look over here and we immediately create this extension zone, one tick from the high, and I saw the weakness, I immediately entered and took that basically down to the intermediate support zone here. It didn't bother me at all that we didn't get any additional order flow here other than the extension zone. Now let's look at the setup on the second trade. I initially began entering contracts approximately in this area here, and as price traded higher, I continued to add contracts until I think there was approximately 8 micro contracts in total here. And I was adding contracts when I saw this POC develop up here at the high and the absorption. You could see that there was multiple absorptions going on in the bar right here. And this is kind of the reason for the early warning on the audible alert, so that you're made aware as prices trading down here. If you haven't already seen this, you're going to look up and say that you have this POC absorption, and that could additionally justify your trade. I, however, was entering limit orders on the way up because notice what the ratio indicator was telling me. Again, as price came up to test the previous high, the limit order resistance went from initially a 60 reading and then up to an 84 at the eventual high, but here it was already a 102. Again, the ratio indicator was performing exactly as expected, responding with price and responding with additional resistance here. Now, here's a few more examples just really quick. I went and researched about 4 weeks of these, and basically what the setup we're looking for is what we're getting here. Here we have 3 up bars making new highs, and we have our ZTP order flow sell and a good trade. Here again, we have a combination of both the POC extension and the ZTP order flow, and out of that we get something like a 12 or 13 point trade. What do we see at the bottom? Down here we see a ZTP order flow, POC absorption. Down here, as we make a lower low, we see the ZTP order flow, and a lower low, the ZTP order flow again, and then price goes up at least another 10 points until we get to a ZTP order flow on the opposite side and price falls. And something that I like to note here is when we're getting this ZTP order flow, the color of the delta strength indicator is black. And just like the color and the warning that you saw on low volume, the color here means something. So when it is black, black is indicating that the volume is 175% of normal. So what do I suggest that you should do as a ZoneTraderPro user? Well, you should be loading up a month of data at a time and getting some information about this setup. What I would be particularly interested in is obtaining information about when we have a certain order flow signal. In this case, here we have the POC extension, and on this chart we see that we have a ratio giving us a distribution signal. So what happened after that trade? Well, that trade ended up being worth 54 ticks, or over 13 points. Now, as you see down here, we have a ZTP order flow buy. And again, at that ZTP order flow buy right there, with the ratio indicator responding as normal, we see a move higher. That move higher correlated into 82 ticks, which is over a 20-point move. So the idea here is that we want to get some information about when we get a signal, what would be a legitimate target to place our limit order at. Now, the whole idea about the ratio is that when the ratio is higher, and this time it's only a 58 and not considered necessarily to be a distribution, what we want to know is when we have the signal but we don't have a higher ratio, do we statistically get less of a response? Here we got a 35 tick response, which is still a great trade. So we don't necessarily want to be ignoring these type of signals, but if they're done in conjunction with a ratio we consider distribution, as in the trades that I took this morning, do we want to look to get more than just maybe 5 or 6 points? So that is some homework that you're going to be required to do, and the answers are going to lead you to develop a trading plan with the use of this tool. So if you have any questions about the setup of the indicator or about how we use this and develop a strategy, again, please feel free to give me a call. Thanks, take care, and stay safe.